Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. Big up your damn selves in the building. Make sure you smash up the likes every single damn time and subscribe if you are new. Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea preview. Now, this is the most difficult game left in the running. We have Brighton, we have Bournemouth, but Nottingham Forest, make no mistake, is the most difficult game because they 100% will come with full commitment as they try to stay alive in the Premier League. With obviously Luton, Burnley as well, still not mathematically down, but, Nottingham Forest have to win this game and they're at home at the City ground, so the crowd's going to be up. Now, for us, before we get into the press conference and Poch's comments and obviously Todd Boehly's comments as well, and the back and forth, maybe vice versa, Reece James could be in the squad. That was kind of confirmed. For me personally, I was ready to see the back of Reece James for this season and many other players because I just don't want to risk injury. I'd much rather them have the summer and then come back for pre-seasons and start from scratch there. If he is on the bench, then fair enough. Maybe he could have been integrated into the under-21s first. I don't know. Again, it's down to the medicals. And a medical that we can't really trust too much because there has been issues with bringing players back too early or bringing players back or recovery or whatever it is as to why they keep having injuries back to back to back and it keeps happening. But like I said, I'm not really excited for Reece James to be back because I don't really want him to be back right now. I'd rather him be left alone to the end of the season. Like I said, I don't want to risk further injuries. So he won't be in my starting 11 and he won't be in my starting 11 until the end of the season. Like I'm really not trying to see a recurrence of injury for Reece James. So as much time off as possible. Now, Pochettino obviously has talked about Todd Boehly's comments. Todd Boehly's comments, I guess to give the context, I'll read it out for you here. This was yesterday. A lot of people reported on it, but I said, let me just leave it to the preview. He was obviously asked about Chelsea in their recent form. He's been saying, we've seen the last 2.5 games, at least the second half against Aston Villa. It's been fluid. It's been good football. It's basically what we had drawn up in the plans, very organised, the build-up, play, the number of shots, and he really saw things coming together. And obviously he says that the narrative and the commentary and has kind of changed quite quickly. Now, listen, I don't think there's much to it. The more important comment that he kind of made in that speech was that I think winning is at the top of the things that are most important. And then he went on to speak about Cole Palmer and kind of his stocks rising and how that could benefit them in the American market, which I don't give a damn about any of that, if I'm being completely honest. But winning is the most important. Now, actions speak louder than words. Obviously, transfer policies will speak as well in terms of fixing the intangibles, the lack of intangibles missing in the squad, the lack of attributes and weaknesses in certain areas that need to be addressed in the first team and the here and now to perform next season. That will kind of more showcase a changing of the strategy, a changing of the extremism in the model will showcase whether winning now is very important to them or winning is very important to them. So it's words right now. Maybe it's kind of him versus Clearlake in terms of what he wants and what he aspires to have and versus what they want and they aspire to have as a consortium, as shareholders, as a group. And maybe they're butting heads. I don't know. All I can say is that obviously the transfer policy from when he was running things as a director, a temporary director, wanting Ronaldo, bringing in experienced players, etc., has changed drastically since Eghbali's been more in charge of the day-to-days. And obviously the strategies come in with the directors and the young players, obviously, and the extremism. So, yeah, maybe they're butting heads. I don't know. Maybe he's constantly trying to push out his kind of goals and narratives, and they're doing the same. But the briefings are there, and it's back and forth. So actions will speak louder than words, as I keep saying, and that's how it is. So it's nice to hear, I guess, that last part, but it's kind of it's just words right now. So, yeah, now, they've also put out that Conference League would not satisfy Chelsea's ambitions. Now, we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks, as Chelsea have picked up form, the briefings or the reports have been skyrocketing in terms of the pressure on Pochettino, in terms of we will see at the end of the season when we have a meeting to discuss the situation with him. We want minimum Europa League football. Conference League is not acceptable. And these were not rhetoric that was coming out when Chelsea were 12th, when Chelsea were 11th, when Chelsea really didn't look like getting any form of European football. Now, maybe that was always the demand behind the scenes, I don't know. But in public, this is what we're starting to hear. And the timing of it, I think, is quite interesting, especially when you compare it to the Pochettino side of things, where in recent weeks, he's also started to become a lot more bitey in his comments, a lot more. He started to kind of speak out a little bit more, criticize the recruitment in terms of lacking experience. Or he said in this very press conference that it's, not just me that needs to be judged, it's the whole football club. He said previous weeks ago. And he has been a little bit more combative, and he's been a little bit more outspoken. So has that got him into trouble behind the scenes? Has that silence that he spoke about? I've not spoken with the owners in months, but I'm in communications with the sporting directors. They asked him a question in this press conference about, at the end of the season, will you sit with the owners? He said, no, I will sit with the sporting directors. That's who I talk with. That's who I liaise with. So it feels a bit disjointed, slightly, a little bit disconnected. And is that because of the comments that he's making, or is that because of the pressure that they're putting on him? Or is it a mix of both? And are they trying to create one big kind of push for an exit clause, an exit strategy for Pochettino? It's interesting. It's quite interesting the way that it's gone from text messages and they back me and we all really get along and we understand we need time and patience and everybody's singing from the same song sheet, to you're going to have to ask the ownership. I don't know about my job security. I don't know if I'm going to be here next season. Just ask them. And it's become a little bit interesting in that respect. His quote on Todd Boehly was, he described the reality, and yes, always Todd was very good with us, even in the tough moments. He was always positive with his messages and in a private way, but to be public now, and if the owner is happy, it's much better for the club, the fans and the players and owners also. Again, I'm asking, is Boehly and Eghbali different styles in terms of their overseeing of the club? And maybe does Poch get along with Boehly but not Eghbali? Again, I don't know, but there's lines to be drawn in between all these figures. It's fascinating in a way. He also goes on to say, it's not only if the owners are and the directors are happy, if we are happy, and I think he's talking about himself and his coaching staff. You need to ask us also, because maybe we are not happy, and maybe we accept the situation and need to split. That's crazy. Like, it's not the first time he said it's not just about me, it's about them as well. Accountability for me, but also accountability for the players. Accountability for me, but also accountability for the directors and the owners. And now he's saying, don't just ask the ownership if they're happy. Ask if I am happy. Am I going to quit? Am I going to walk away? Not ask if they're going to sack me. And it's, again, going back to the very beginning where they interviewed people and they had such a long process for bringing in a manager. And we said at the time of trying to recruit said manager in the summer, it's almost like the managers are interviewing the owners, because the managers have worked under many and multiple different structures. The managers have mostly won multiple honors and had multiple achievements. They have experience in this sport. The ownership don't. And they don't have a winning regime or winning record to lean back on to tell the managers that you're coming into something secure, like Roman Abramovich. When Roman Abramovich was here, managers would not be interviewing Roman Abramovich, right? Or Marina. They know that they're coming into an institution. They know the expectations. They know the demands. They know the pressures, but it's about winning. And we are going to give you players that are ready to win now as a consequence. So you don't deliver with what we give, then you're gone. And it's very clear cut. Whereas here, there is a demand to win to a degree in terms of we need to finish in European places, but there's also a demand to not get the full backing in terms of I want to keep Gallagher, but you want to sell him. I want to maybe keep Chalobah, but you want to sell him. You're not backing me fully in the market in terms of you're bringing in loads of young players and loads of teenagers, but I've already got enough. You're not giving me experience. But you're still placing the same demands, not the same demands, maybe lesser demands, but you're still placing expectations, demands on me, whilst also having a lot of injuries as well. So it's not the same. It's not as clear cut. And that's why the frustration from the manager will be there. That's why he'll have to start speaking out and start demanding. As I said in January, he should. You need to demand. You need to say this is what we need. And if you don't get it, then at least the fans can sit there and say, right, he asked for it. It's clear that what he wants and where he feels Chelsea are weak, he didn't get it. Now we can look past him and to the board and to the ownership. However, if you justify what they're doing, if you say that Washington is enough, if you say that Casadei come back and he's enough, then we're going to look at you, because now you have to use those guys. Now you have to depend on those guys in injury, when Enzo's carrying a hernia, when people are falling down. As a consequence, you've got to use those inexperienced players that you said are just okay for Chelsea, are just okay for the job. So it maybe it's come too late, much like the system for Pochettino. Maybe this has all come a bit too late in terms of holding people accountable, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch, speaking out, but also, of course, the tactics and the system. Maybe it's come just a little bit too late, but it's very interesting to see all the political narratives that are playing out. And this is why, and I'll circle it back, make sure that you do go into the description and follow the playback room that I have, because I do random watch-alongs and random pieces of content there that I don't always just put everywhere and publish, because I'm just a little bit spontaneous with it. But we did do a watch-along last night for Esteval and KingThabz in terms of their two teams playing last night in the South American competitions, and we watched their games, the Copa Ludocrets, and we watched their games, and yeah, we watched it until they came off, and then when they came off, we shut it down, but we watched those guys play. So reason why I bring that up is it's very interesting to see that once again, we're in a situation where these players and this manager and this ownership and this directors, they don't seem to be aligned. They don't seem to be connected. And this is why I don't like comparisons between Arsenal and Liverpool and Man City. Those structures are all aligned. There's not a million briefings coming out talking about, oh, well, I'm going to blame him, or I'm going to blame him, and I'm going to talk back to that person. They're all together as a unit, and they're pushing in the same direction. And you don't hear the blame game, and you don't hear the politics. And when the manager is saying, I have to play names sometimes over what suits me tactically or what suits the team tactically, that's why I have an issue when people say to me in the last video, right? People will say, oh, but whoever's the best will make it, or whoever plays the best will make it. We know that politics exists in football. We know that ownerships pay big money for certain names or certain players and then demand that those players get minutes over others. We've seen it this season, potentially, right? Pochettino has hinted to it, that there's been demands to play certain players because of the name. So let's not pretend that there's an even playing field for a Hutchinson versus Esteval. If Esteval comes in versus a Hutchinson who didn't cost any money, it's already a slope. It's already uneven. It's already Esteval is over Hutchinson because of the generational talent Chelsea have seen him to be. And that already creates an unfair playing field. So it's not the best will make it. It's politics. Always has been, and unfortunately probably always will be. So yeah, that was incredible to read and to listen to in the press conference. He was also asked a tactical question about Cucurella. I don't find his answers to be that engaging or that insightful. I'll be honest. Maybe it's the language barrier, but the question was great on Cucurella and why he inverts and whether the other fullbacks can do that. And he didn't really give us anything back in terms of tactical talk, and yeah, it wasn't really worth bringing up in this preview. So we move on from that. Chelsea also likely to face an uphill battle to comply with UEFA's financial rules if they qualify for Europe. This is not the first time we've heard this report. I don't know just how much truth there is to it, because it depends on obviously the regulations and what we have put on the books in terms of sales and income and revenue, and what UEFA are willing to actually accept in terms of that, whether the hotels are good enough for them or not. The 2 hotels that we sold to ourselves. And that might be why we need Europa League football and not conference. And remember when we were going for the League Cup final, the Carabao Cup final, when people were saying, right, we might not be able to even play in conference because we might not we might not comply with the rules for UEFA. And that's why we need minimum Europa League, because Europa League gives more revenue, gives more even in sponsorship. When you're looking at advertisements and when you're talking to brands, that's why Conference League has never really entertained me. I've never really been in this Conference League push. If we get it, we'll see if we can even participate. But it's very obvious that Europa League is the bare minimum. And that's why the Jordan deal, for instance, hangs on minimum Europa League qualification. So we need to win 3 games. We need to qualify for the Europa League in some capacity if we finish in 6th. We need Newcastle to lose. And unfortunately, the FA Cup is not there for us to do it. But it doesn't surprise me that the demand is Europa League, because we may not even be able to play in Conference League. Who knows? So yeah, we move. What else is there? Such an interesting preview today. There was a little link to Emi Martinez. I would take him, to be honest. His statistics this season seem to be great in terms of goals prevented per 90, crosses collected as well, which is something I bang on about all the time in terms of defending set pieces and situations from wide areas, crosses. We need to have a goalkeeper that can claim crosses. It's so paramount. It's so important, especially in this league. We have the Petr Cechs to look back on, the Courtoises. They were excellent at it. So I like Emi Martinez in terms of, like, if he was to play for us. He's one of those guys you hate on the opposition side, you love if he plays for you. Similar to Diego Costa. Absolute shithouse. And I do think he'd kind of shut this conversation down about who starts in goal. However, ball playing ability, maybe not any better than Petrovic, maybe not really that great. So yeah, that's probably the only area you'd look at. Shot stopping, cross collection, obviously the basics of a goalkeeper he'll be great at. But in terms of like the ball play and the capacity, I don't think he's anything particularly special. So maybe might not be the final boss, maybe not the answer, but it depends on the market. Might be the best we can get. So let's see. Again, confirmation that the review will come at the end of the season after the Bournemouth game, and it seems like Pochettino is going to put them. He's going to put them to the test as much as they're going to put him to the test. They're going to have to answer to him as much as he's going to have to answer to them. It's going to be quite. I wish I could put a fly on the wall. I want a camera in that room. I want to eavesdrop on that conversation. It must be incredible. Bayern Munich are apparently also interested in Esteval. Like I said, I was watching that game that he played in yesterday on playback. Played about 60 minutes. Nice touches, nice close control, a little bit of dribbling here and there. Nothing generational just yet, but I'm not going to judge him off the one game. His team were pants as well. Like, they don't get the ball to him enough. And Endrick, it was a sight to behold, I must say. And Paez' game as well. His team, boy, he is not getting the ball enough as well. My days. So yeah, he was also Esteval speaking about speculation, saying my head is 100% in Palmeiras, focused on Palmeiras. And he's not thinking about other things. They're secondary at the moment. And obviously, it's exactly what you want to hear and exactly what you'd expect to hear from a kid. He should be focused on his football. So, yeah, my team is on screen, as you can see. This is the team that I would play, pretty much the same as what we went with in the previous game. I wouldn't bring back any of the guys that are coming back from injury, supposedly. I'm not trying to risk them, not trying to have any reoccurrences or rehabilitations until the end of the season. That's the goal. We didn't get 2 injuries for this press conference. Yes, unbelievable achievement. And yeah, let's hope that continues. So team is pretty clear, pretty easy to understand. Obviously, Cucurella will continue to invert. Chalobah will continue to slot into that back 3, and Gallagher will continue to push up into the half space. Mudryk, I would just probably give Mudryk 3 starts until the end of the season, and he is meant to be the successor to Raheem Sterling. He is meant to be the future. Maybe people have already given up on him because there's a new kid on the block, or there's new star boys around. But for me, I need to see something. This was the one that people said, he's wearing the number 10. So let's see something. Last 3 games, 3 consistent starts, and then we can go from there at the end of the season and judge. What else is there? I think that's it, guys. We have to win. My prediction is 2-1 Chelsea. Very concerned though about the game. It's gonna be really tough. Hudson-Odoi on the left wing. Watch out for him. He's in good form. Nottingham Forest only just beat Sheffield, but they haven't even been in great form. But Hudson-Odoi's been playing really, really well. And Ola Aina, another former player of ours as well, at wing back most likely. Keep an eye on him. Very good player as well. So Gibbs White, have to be adding his name into the hat as well. So it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a demanding game. They're going to be very, very, I'm sure, aggressive, very physical, as we'd expect. But our football has to do the talking, and we have to be able to outplay teams like this and continue to keep playing this system in this way. And to the end of the season, then we see what happens. If we don't win, we won't be getting Europa League. We need Newcastle to lose an entire football match. There's no room for error. There's no room for slip-ups. So do let me know what you think. Nottingham Forest team is on the screen as well, just to give you the rest of the players that are expected to play in this match. It's probably going to be a 3-4-3. Maybe Alanga will get in here. I'm not sure if he's available or what the case is, but that is what we're expecting to see, is a 3-4-3 with Gibbs White and Hudson-Odoi just behind the striker. So until next time, make sure you smash up the likes. Big up your damn selves. And I'll see you guys for the watch along tomorrow. In a bit, people. Peace. La 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 la